Guys, I think we'll go ahead and get started here. It's 10:31. I'm going to be pinch hitting for Jim Coulthard today. He had a series of unfortunate mishaps, and he's not able to make it here today. So bear with me. I'm using his slide deck, and I practiced in front of my 2-year-old last night and got really poor reviews. So we wanted to put together a presentation, and I didn't want to bore you. I kind of figured we might be up here at this podium style thing where I can't move my hands. But I thought about a couple things. Jim and I sat down, we talked about this, and we wanted to hit you with a couple different items. You know, what's going to shut you down, what's going to burden you, what might help you get through some of that, and then maybe some items that are going to make you more competitive in your space, make you better at what you do, and hopefully help you guys move forward in the future. And so the first thing we're going to not do is talk about supply chain issues. Has anybody not been affected by supply chain issues? Okay. I mean, if you have stuff, let me know. But we're going to skip that for now. Just briefly, I don't have a slide on it, but we continue to have those issues. I can assure you and reassure you that Schaedler Yesco is doing everything that we can to be transparent and open about any of the supply chain issues that we're facing today. We don't have any storeroom stockpiles, and we're trying to get that stuff moved through and out to the customers as quickly as possible and as effectively as possible. So it's going to continue to be around a little bit. We ask that you just continue to work with us, be proactive with our ordering and planning processes. And that's really about the only thing that's working right now is getting ahead of it as much as possible, being proactive with ordering and those kind of things. So some of the items and products that fall into my categories are hitting some highlights, kind of getting worse. So it continues. It's not one thing. Everybody says it's chips. That's true sometimes. Sometimes it's resin. Sometimes it's, the latex pad coverings for digital keys. And a lot of it's just misses, all the way back to the individual component manufacturer. So it's really hard and volatile to control. But the first thing right out of the gate that we want to talk about in this update is the DCOM issue. Is anyone familiar with the DCOM issue? Right? No. Okay, so this isn't Rockwell. Let me start off with that. This is a Microsoft thing. So DCOM is a proprietary Microsoft technology really used for remote communications to lots of different devices and hardware within the industry and segment. Everybody's using DCOM or has used DCOM in the past, and basically Microsoft has come out and said we're not going to support this anymore. We're not going to continue to patch it, and it's going to be going away. So that puts us in kind of a precarious situation because there's a lot of hardware out in the field right now that utilizes DCOM that eventually is going to shut off. And it's not going to be like night and day. Microsoft isn't dropping viruses into your computers, but they're going to stop supporting it. They're going to stop offering patches for it. So when you do a reboot, you do an upgrade, you do a program download, something's going to happen and it's going to disconnect and you're not going to be able to get it reconnected without a lot of issues. So we've come up with a couple of things, and this is really high level. Guys, if you want to talk about this in more detail, reach out to my team, and we can definitely come out and have individual conversations because it's going to be different for everyone. But really the highlights are Rockwell has a couple first steps. So what they're really saying is don't do the updates, don't do the patches, and that's going to hold you through until about June of 2022. And then you're going to start to see a tiered approach based on the hardware, whether or not you're going to be able to continue to use these items with the DCOM or not. And then eventually March 2023 is their date to really kind of cut off and stop supporting. So anybody who's using remote access devices, anything with ActiveX control, RSView32, Vantage Point, Data Historian. There's a lot of different things that are affected by this. And we have tech documents that kind of lay all that information out. They're available on the Rockwell knowledge base if you're familiar with that. If you punch in DCOM, you'll get multiple items that come up just within the knowledge base publications. But this is really something that we want to voice and make sure that everyone's aware of because this is going to hurt. If you're not proactive with this, it can take you down. It will cause heartache. It will cause heartburn. And the good news is we have fixes. So That's really the takeaway from here is get in touch with us if you think, look at your knowledge base. We've got publications, marketing campaigns going on with our website around DCOM, so you can jump on the Schaedler Yesco website and see this information as well. But this is something to really look into. So I won't belabor it anymore, but please look, reach out to us if you think this might affect you. So how about Micrologix? Is anybody using the Micrologix platform? So some of the stuff, I see smiles. I almost don't want to see smiles, but the Micrologix platform. So the older stuff, the 1100s, the 1200s, that stuff is obsolete now. The 1400 is active, mature. We had some messaging come out that said, we were not going to be able to order that. There was a Z block on it. That has been retracted. We can now still support the 1400 a little better than what we thought we were going to do. But the messaging is really still the same. So as of January 22, the 1400 is active, mature. It will be going obsolete. And, whether or not we could get it or not in the short term, really our messaging is what this next slide is, which is there's past the modernization. And we would really encourage all of our customers to take a good hard look at any of the Micrologix 1000 series stuff. So 1100, 1200, 1400, and consider moving over to the Micro 800 series of products. So there's a lot of really good tools available for those conversions to take place. I've got some depictions up here. So the Micrologix 1400 specifically and other series, they go to the 800 product, which is compatible with the PanelView Pluses. So if you have a system that's using the PVPs and the Logix 1400s, you can just convert the controller over and keep your screens. You can also migrate the screens over to the PanelView 800. But it's really important to note, you don't have to do this. This isn't blank slate, right? There's conversion tools that make it really easy to populate over, convert to the 800 series, which is ultimately going to be the more supported, more active product. It's going to have a longer life, and you gain some functionality with it. There are a few nuances. I know there's always a catch, but for the most part, for most applications, it's pretty straightforward. And those applications where we do have some issues, we have a large team that's able to work with you guys to kind of resolve those issues and get you working on the 800 platform, or maybe going to the Compact Logix platform, depending on the situation. So the other benefit that I wanted to hit, I talk to customers all the time about this, is if everybody doesn't have a copy of Connected Components Workbench on your PC, you should get one right away. It's free. It is the programming software for the Micro 800 and the PanelView 800. You can do online training courses that can teach you how to program. They do script text. They do ladder logic and Micrologix and CCW. It's a great program. It's our drive interface program. So you can program all your PowerFlex drives with the CCW software. But I find every time I get into conversations, folks are, we're still programming our drives off the keypad. We're still trying to figure out what software to use for the Micro 800. That's a really great software. So if you're not using it now, I highly recommend it. Just having a copy of it, checking it out. And as we move forward, as everyone in the industry, kind of evolves, we're going to see a lot more of this cloud-based software or freeware, trying to make things easier, less scripted, those kind of things. So, and it's all in an effort to try and make things easier to use, faster to use. So, that's another highlight of that information. So we'll turn pages here. I do want to try and get through this, leave a couple minutes for questions. So the Slick 500. And then I see other smiles from other folks. And I'm like, ah. So the Slick 500s will be end of life by the end of the year. So the IO will be discontinued by the end of the year as well. We're highly recommending that folks migrate over to this. When you have product in your plant that goes end of life, it gets harder to support. And they don't do that intentionally. There's lots of different reasons why we end of life software or hardware. And I'm not real sure on the Slick 500 what probably killed it, but Again, there's migration strategy and opportunity to kind of keep you from making this a burden, right? In your facility, the biggest thing that we want to avoid is downtime. Extended downtime for lack of being able to get parts. All those things are considerable. So where would we go? We mostly we use the 5380 for modernization of the Slick 500s. So this is a little bit graphic-y, lots of colors and arrows. There's two ways to really do it. If you have an existing Slick, you can either replace the I/O modules, or you can retain the I/O out of the Slick and just replace the controller. So you see there on the replace I/O, you're going from a Slick 500 to a 5380 controller. If you're using Ethernet, you continue to use the Ethernet with the 1492 I/O. If you're over serial, you can do the same thing. You convert over with a serial to DH485 converter, and then you continue to use that 1492 I/O as a replacement. If you want to retain the I/O cards, which absolutely you can, the modernization method is on the right hand side there, which is keeping your 5380 controller and then using the 1747 AENTR to communicate to the old I/O rack, and then vice versa with the DH485 to 1747. So two migration paths. Again, a lot of times we talk to customers, it's hard to lay this out, right? It seems really scary. You take down the brain of your system. You don't know if you're going to get it back. There's a lot of risk involved with the controller swap out. And I'm here to tell you that we've got a lot of tools, a lot of resources to make this pretty easy on you. So won't belabor this either, but this is another good one. This is going to catch you. So PanaView Plus 7 Performance Series B release. Has anybody had the unpleasantries of dealing with the Series A PanaView 7s? So the short story on this is the manufacturer of the screens was using Windows CE, which is no longer supported. It's industry-wide. This affected Porsche touchscreens inside the cars, right? So Rockwell had to come up with a solution. They resourced the digitized screen, did an upface on the 7 Performance, made the Series B. It is in production now. We should be seeing them hit the market or hit distribution very soon, if in some places it hasn't already. And there's a good amount of improvements that have been made to the Series B that, is going to make this very painless. So the biggest catch out of all the transitions is it doesn't support 120 volt control anymore. So if you have a 120 volt system, we have to get around that with either a 24 volt power supply, or in the short term, we might have some availability on 120 volt Series A's that can come around for short term projects. But we've updated the operating system. We've updated the hardware with the screens. We've updated security. It now supports SIP, firmware updates. And we've also significantly increased the user storage capacities on these PanaViews. So these programs keep getting bigger, keep getting more in depth. So this is really a good product relaunch or a Series B conversion. I'm really happy with it. There's a publication on a couple of the nuances that the first revision of this will not support. They're very specific to application. It's available on the knowledge base. It's available on our website as well. So before you just dive right into a Series B conversion, it's good to just look that over and make sure you're not using any of that. Again, ActiveX control, some of those things aren't going to be supported in the first iteration of this, but will be supported in a new firmware update. We're going to move into the help you or make you more competitive. Studio version 34 is out. It was just released. If you haven't checked it out yet, very cool. Introducing the Flex HA 5000. We've got SIP security support on all the guard Logix and all the compact Logix. There was trying to see if they're in the audience. There was an issue with some of the communications with remote access. That's all been fixed in version 34 of the software. We've got some package reduction, and we've got the support of the Factory Talk Links 6.21. And then they've also expanded the automatic diagnostics on devices. The time data types, if you're not into those time data types yet, they're a little scary, but they're actually pretty useful. And then online activity user improvements. So now you can do a couple more things that have always been a little cumbersome and burdensome with the older controller series. So, has anybody heard of the Factory Talk Echo yet? So Echo is an emulator. Uh, the Series A version of it is available for the Logix controllers, L8 controllers. And basically what it is a virtual environment for you to test your controller without having to have a physical controller there. Right now, it just supports the Control-Logix platform. The next release of this will also support Compact-Logix platform. This is super cool. I was out at an event with Rockwell. They showed us this. You can have 17 chassis slots. So technically, if you wanted to move your 0 chassis or your controller chassis to a different slot number, you could have 17 engineers working on individual Control-Logix projects, testing out all the I/O capability, all the controller capability in a virtual environment. So, which is pretty cool. No, only one engineer can have the 0 slot right now, but they're working on that as well through an enterprise system of the Echo. But this is kind of a game changer, right? So we've historically had chassis mounted to our cubicles where we had controllers hooked on the side of them. We were testing them out. You have open box controllers. You're not 100% sure what their viable state is, what revision of firmware they're running, et cetera, et cetera. You can emulate all that now through a software package and get the same result, all the testing done, and just keep moving with your project. So it's been really cool to release it, work with customers who are using it. I highly recommend it. And there's definitely, this is the direction that we're going to be moving with a lot of our product launches, a lot of our lines, more of this emulated virtual environment to hold hardware and do different things with it. So Factory Talk Logix Echo, again, that emulator software. If you guys are interested in learning more about that, please reach out to us. I've got one more screen here. So that Logix Echo that I guess Jim he just really wanted to point out that there are no changes to the project file required, right? Other than if you change your chassis slot, but it's all in that emulated virtual environment, just as if you dumped it into a physical controller. So again, highly recommended, really cool launch. So I'll leave you with 3 things. As we're working with controllers and we're working in this automated space environment, don't forget about the tools. Rockwell spends a lot of money on research and development, making tools, making their products easier to interface and use. And I find a lot of our customers don't know that those tools exist. So the conversion tools with CCW, program converters, there's a lot of resources and tools out there that are free to the customer. They're very useful, and a lot of times you just don't know about them. The second thing, we would love to partner up and collaborate with our customers. And I don't mean that in a salesy sense. I mean that in a literal, we really want to help our customers be successful. We want to see our customers grow and be more competitive in their space. And collaborating and getting up front on projects and resources and working through things, we think is going to be very beneficial, mutually beneficial. We have a team of 25 people that sit through all sorts of Rockwell trainings, sit through events, work with all sorts of different environments and industries. And, that's your disposable. And we really want to work with you. And we find that we have our best successes with customers when we can get in early and we can collaborate on projects and problems and really go at it as a team. So, and then third, always smile. With all the supply chain issues, everything else that we're trying to figure out, some of it's out of our control. Schaedler Yesco is always here to help. We'll always lend a hand where we can. We'll do what we absolutely can to help you, and especially this close to lunch, right? So that's the end of my presentation.